Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy.
Okay, don't worry, be happy, everybody. Welcome to episode number 2. It's so awkward to come in. It's the hardest. It doesn't matter whose podcast you listen to.
Getting the intro in.
Oh my god! I've been doing this for 2 years.
We should have just a siren go and just get right into it. Yeah, air horn.
Yeah, it's just, but it's not even that. It's like, what would perfect is to have someone who does everything. So we'll just be talking,
yeah,
and all of a sudden he'll give you the thumbs up, like, oh, and
it's
you
like
know you're live.
In
okay,
The Price is
in.
Right. You got the host, you know.
Right.
Someone standing up in the
exactly.
booth calling the names.
A lot of the podcasts I listen to have that. They have a producer, right?
We're gonna have to.
We're not at that level.
We're gonna have to invest.
Yeah, we're gonna need anybody out there who is interested in kind of getting some experience in that field. Holler at your boy.
Get at us for it. Okay,
what's going on, man? How's your week?
It's been all right. It's been all right. Yeah? Getting excited to go on a little vacation. So
that'd be good.
Yeah,
going for some spring training.
A little break from the rain. Yeah, we're going down to Phoenix. We're gonna watch 4 or 5 games there and sit in the pool.
What teams will you be watching?
The one stadium real close to us has Kansas City games, and then another one. I want to see a lot of like Royals and Cubs games, basically.
Yeah.
But we're just gonna check the schedule when we're down there and see who's pitching and whatever. And
pick and choose.
Yeah,
do you have to
go see the
for the
stars.
tickets, or?
Yeah, they're from like $5 to $20 or something.
Oh, that's
so it's
nothing.
Nothing crazy, but yeah, it should be good. What about you? What's going on with?
It's been a good week. Getting back into the swing of things for work. You know, it's different.
Different.
9 months of just kind of basically doing whatever I want. I mean, I kept busy. I did a lot of shit, but it definitely kind of. You get a lot better at planning your days, I think.
You do.
That's what I've noticed.
That's a good thing, though, to have structure and keep going, right? But when you got the endless time, you want to fill it and then do your best. So.
Well, and plus, it didn't help that I started like 3 different things while I was off. Yeah. So I started. I was upgrading English so that I could do some schooling, and then I started my philosophy class, and then we started this.
Yeah.
So all of these things I started while I wasn't working.
Now that you don't have the same.
Yeah. You know, I spent a lot of time just watching TV, which I was clearly wrong. Not as much as I thought I was. Yeah. But it was something that, you know, when we started looking into doing something like this, you know, we were kind of throwing back and forth. Well, kind of what angle do we want to go at? Because there's so many podcasts now, right?
There's so many podcasts.
We've talked about this before many times, but you can't just, as like 2 normal dudes, you can't just have a podcast where you're just going to have a conversation, because no one gives a shit what we have to say when it comes to just, you know.
There might a couple people.
Well, yeah, there'll be a few, but I mean,
Mom cares.
You know, you need to. I felt, you know, we've talked about it. We felt like we needed to go in a direction, and that's where we kind of came up with this Happy Naughts, which was your idea as far as the name, and we kind of had the same idea as far as what we wanted, the direction
just
we wanted to go, positivity.
Right? Yeah.
But then you kind of came to me with that name. You texted me, Happy Naughts. And I was like, what the fuck is Happy Naughts?
Yeah,
what does that even mean?
When you define knots as complete failures, but, you know, happy and trying to find a silver lining. And
yeah. Then I was like, that's perfect. Like, that's literally describes exactly, for me, my own kind of approach to life.
Yeah.
Is you got to look at things as obviously sometimes you're going to be upset, but you got to look at things as, you know, as positively as you can, otherwise you're going to be miserable all the time.
Yeah.
So it was perfect. It was a perfect fit.
It's perfect for that. And then we getting in today talking about happiness as well, and that's where we're kind of happy to do this podcast about this. And it's not something we're here to tell you how to be happy. We just kind of want to talk about experiences and breaking down the definition of happiness, because I think some people, including myself, lose a lot of touch with that.
Yeah.
And understanding what it is and the things that can kind of cluster your mind and get you away from it, right?
Yeah, I think also there is this kind of, well, I mean, I don't know if there was this trend of like, you know, people searching for happiness, as far as, you know, the 2000s is when you kind of started to see these people not follow that same, more so, not follow that model of graduate high school, get a good paying job, get married, have kids. It was like, I'm going to go travel the world, or I'm going to, people wanted to kind of do their own thing more so, right?
Yeah, it was more pursuing passions than following a guideline of life kind of thing, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. So we never really, last episode, we never really kind of talked about what the theme or the basis of this podcast was. And, happy Naughts meaning, trying to look at things in a positive way, but it's also, we're so inundated with negativity day after day.
That was the biggest point
day.
that we talked about, right? It was just constantly watching the news or seeing these articles posted, and you're just being overwhelmed all day long with shitty things going on that, whether it's through social media or news or whoever's choosing to be posting and sharing these things, like, if we let ourselves just be consumed by those terrible things all the time, it's hard to reflect a positive outlook.
Exactly.
We just wanted to chip in a little on the positive side of things.
Yeah, just the more you surround yourself with happiness in whatever way that is, the happier you're going to be.
Yeah, whatever it is, changes person to person, but
yeah,
there's little things that we've learned, and
we just kind of wanted to share things we've learned over the years, things that help us if we're feeling down, or if, we're in a funk or whatever it might be. So for you then, what when you think about happiness, let's start here. When you think about the times that you're unhappy, when you think about the times when you're in a funk or you just can't seem to find pleasure in many things, what do you usually find seems to be some common themes going on at that time?
Not taking care of yourself physically or mentally. You're constantly being overwhelmed by things that really don't matter. Not taking the times in the day to relax and try to just force yourself to enjoy what you're doing. If you're consumed on being weighed down basically by all these little things in life, it's hard to find a second to erase 14 bad thoughts and find a happy moment, right?
Yeah. So touched on kind of one of the main philosophies I try to kind of live by, and sometimes it can piss off the girlfriend because I try not to, things that are out of my control, I try to just let go.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to learn, though, right?
It is. 100% it is.
Yeah.
But that's another point, is that you can learn that, and because I have.
Yeah.
I've learned to let the things. I'm not all the time, but it's a gradual thing.
Yeah.
Let things go that you cannot control. So, for example, bills. Right? Why are you worrying about your bills when you? Unless you're just gonna. If it's really bothering you, get rid of cable. Get rid of things that you don't need if those kinds of bills are always weighing on you.
Yeah.
If you feel like it's something you can't deal with, you get sick, you get hurt. These are things that a lot of people look at these things as if they're major things in your life, whereas for myself, I feel like those are the times where you need to kind of, not forget about it, but let it. Just accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to be in. So I tore my ACL, had surgery. For the next 6 months, I'm not going to be very mobile. So I'm going to find other things to do with my time. I think
finding things to do with your time, another tough thing for some people too, right? It's this year. I think we've talked a lot about it, and we've been almost overwhelmed, busy.
Yeah. With
trying to. Get into different things or work on different things and do this as a project as well. Mm-hmm. But I don't think anything made me happier than being too busy rather than sitting around and just not having anything to do with your time.
Yeah. So that would fall under both, but so as far as things that you look at when you're unhappy or when you're feeling down, or things that, things aren't going well, that's another one. You're not busy enough. You're not occupying your time. You're bored, right? That's a huge thing for a lot of people.
Well, boredom's a perfect time to sit there and let all those other things that don't matter
Yeah.
fill your brain, right?
Exactly.
And that's I think that can be a problem.
And then you touched on you're not taking care of yourself, right? So you're eating like shit. Sugar, man, that's the big new thing right now, right? Sugar is in everything.
Yeah.
And it's so bad for you. And it's a lot of the reason why
You've cut out tons of stuff.
I've cut out
and
a lot of sugar.
Makes you feel better. I remember the other day I brought like a G2 over that didn't even have that much sugar.
They do though. You don't think it does,
No,
but it does.
No, it's got about 12 grams.
That's a lot of sugar. You're
That's
only
a-
supposed to have like 28 grams a day.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's including pastas, breads, all of these other things that your body breaks down to sugar. Don't get me wrong. I'm not preaching. Dude, I love food.
Yeah.
I love good food. But it's amazing. Like I've cut out a lot of bread. I still have every once in a while. Breads, pastas, a lot of carbs. I've cut down. I would never cut it out.
Yeah.
I enjoy it too much. Pastas especially. There's no way I'm cutting that out of my diet.
Yeah.
That's not fucking happening. But it's amazing. Like I've lost like 4 or 5 pounds in like a month. And I'm not a big guy as it is, but for me to go from like 168 down to 164, that's huge.
It's a good percent.
A bit, and when I'm already pretty svelte.
Let's get back on track.
But it's not even. But I do notice that, like, so say last night. Yesterday was like a lounge day. I've done a lot. I've been super busy, and you couldn't make it yesterday. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna prep a bunch of meals. Me and Ashley cooked for like 3 hours. And then I vegged for the night. I decided that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to eat some crap. We made a good dinner, but I'm going to eat some snacks and watch some movies and da-da-da. This morning, what I notice for me is I wake up and it takes me a solid hour of getting loose. Like your body, you feel it in your body, that inflammation, which is what sugar does, right?
Yeah, no, it does. I can agree with you that pretty strongly. We also tried kind of in February there to start eating better, and not having such late meals. And I agree 100% with you. When I got to wake up at 5:50 in the morning, if I had some shit meals before we went to bed, it's definitely a little more of a struggle than putting something healthy in you before.
And it's tough, man. Don't get me wrong. I love junk. I absolutely love junk. But where you can cut it out, you cut it out. Yeah. That's basically it. You make the effort.
Yeah, for sure.
And then when you do cheat or you do slip up and you eat something, that's the other thing is don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That you're just making yourself feel bad for being a human, right? So the other things that, for myself and my experiences, as far as when I felt down or when I've felt like basically as if nothing I can do is putting a smile on my face, which is very rare. I'm not gonna lie. For myself, it's very rare. I don't get like that very often.
Yeah,
but
no, from the times we've been working on these things together, you're always pretty content. Don't have too many negative things to say, or
it's it's a blessing and a curse, that because a lot of it is just I don't worry about a lot of shit, but at the same time that can be a bad thing. But that's a whole nother can of potatoes.
We'll get into that another
doesn't
day.
make sense. Can of potatoes.
break down Ryan's life.
But I just think a lot of it is that you're not putting yourself first. So as much as both of us really like helping other people, number one has to be you. And if it doesn't matter whether it's with your family, friends, significant other, you still have to be number one. Nobody else is going to make you happy. Nobody else should be in charge or should be the bearer of your happiness. That's all on you. And I think that's a big thing that you learn as you get older.
Talking about being in control of your own happiness, was there ever a point in time where you felt you needed to eliminate things, get them out of the way just to get out of your own way?
I think, I would say the biggest thing that you should eliminate from your life are the people in your life that are negative. Bottom line, people in your life who are either always putting you down. Always. I mean, there's a difference there. That's what guys do. We rip each other.
Yeah.
But people who are, always genuinely putting down things you're doing, genuinely looking at the negative side of everything.
I think we all have those people in our life. I'm sure I've been that person for someone before, like it's...
Yeah. I've
tough.
caught myself many times for sure. But that's another big part, is being aware of that. Mm-hmm. But we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, I think for me, that's the biggest thing is, and I don't even think I was cognizant of it happening. I just think over time those people get weaned out because you just don't want to hang out with them anymore.
Well, you don't have time for it, right?
That being said, for some people, they're the only people they have around them. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I never really had. I always had at least a good core group of friends. But for some people, that's all you have. But that doesn't mean you can't move on. That doesn't mean you have to continue to hang out with them. Start doing things that interest you, and you're gonna find better people and more interesting people to hang out with.
Yeah,
you got to put yourself out there.
I agree.
So when you think about the other side, then we discussed kind of what the things we see in ourselves when we're not happy. What do you see? What do you notice when you are happy? What do you notice about your life? Things you're doing, things that are occupying your time.
I think like occupying your time is a huge thing, because when I'm personally like the most satisfied with what's going on, the way I occupy my time is, it's with family and friends. It's being active. It's being outside, being in nature, doing all these little things, opposed to sitting at home on the couch and eating a fucking pizza and watching TV all night, like you're...
And that's the thing, is where that's fun. There's nothing wrong with that. Right?
Yeah, we did that the other day before we went out, and it was,
yeah.
Came home from a 6-day work week and sat down, and we went and played some ball, and then we're hungry and had a pizza and watched some TV. It was great, but, if you're... That was a good time to rest and relax. Mm-hmm. And that's something also that's super important. If you're not taking those small periods of time for yourself, you need that downtime. You need that relaxed time to reset.
But so here's where I totally agree with you. You need that downtime. But what I think it is, I think that so I don't know how to word this without...
Just spit it out. Spit it out.
This is coming from my own personal experience.
Okay.
I used to watch like 6 hours of TV a night. It was fucking brutal. At the time, I thought I enjoyed it. I thought it was whatever. I enjoyed watching these shows. So you get older, you grow up, you don't want to do that anymore. You want to accomplish things. But then when you do, you go through a transition period where I actually think I might still be in it, but where that time you're spending sitting on the couch doing nothing, eating shit, like I said I did yesterday night, then for the next couple of days, you beat yourself up about it. And that's for me, that's one of the things that I'm trying to get better at is, it's still enjoying that time, which I did, but not beating myself up the next day and thinking that, you accomplished nothing. All that's going to do is make you feel like shit. You're not going to be happy. And now that was a waste of your Sunday night. So what was the point of even taking that break, right? You still need to enjoy that time that you do allow yourself.
Yeah, I don't think we spend those moments enjoying everything you're doing. You and me were talking about this last Thursday.
Own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now? Do that. Do those things. We define ourselves far too often by our past failures. We look at our past and we say, well, that's me. That's not you. You are this person right now. You're the person who's learned from those failures. And you can choose to be the hero of your own movie right now. Write down your goals. Write down things you want to improve. Write down things you won't tolerate from yourself. Write down things you've done in the past that you never want to see yourself do again. And go forth from here as the hero of your own movie. Build momentum. Build confidence and momentum with each good decision that you make from here on out. You can do it. Anyone can do it. We live in unique times. We live in one of the rarest times in human history where you can choose almost all of the input that comes your way. Whether it's the movies that you watch, the books you read, the podcasts you listen to, you can choose to be inspired. Do that, and be the hero of your own movie.
Have you seen that before?
I've never seen that. I like that a lot, though.
I listened to that multiple times. There's so many things he says in there that are so true and can be so very helpful to someone who's trying to get out of a funk.
It's true.
We one of the big ones for me, and the main theme of it really is, we aren't who we were. You can change.
You're constantly growing.
You're constantly growing. Just because you were a fuck up in high school doesn't mean you got to be a fuck up now. And how many people, we all know people like that who continue down the same detrimental path because it's almost like they're like, well, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Well, no, you can actually make some changes.
Yeah, you don't have to accept that.
The other thing that is, and we've kind of touched on it already today, is we can choose the input. We can choose what articles we read, what TV shows we watch, I think in that sense it's good to get a variety if you're reading, whether it's political or whatever kind of art. You want to try and see both sides. But you can choose not to consistently have negative Facebook feed.
Yeah.
Not follow all the things that...
Yeah, you can block and follow a lot of stuff on there if
exactly.
You're kind of sick of seeing and hearing it, right?
Yeah. Just like people. Just like we talked about earlier.
I've definitely unfollowed people that it's just a constant...
It's tough.
Yeah.
Because you almost feel like you're... Yeah, that's a tough one. I've done it as well. But there's a point where you gotta say, look, if you're not willing to help, the thing is yeah, people go through stuff, and I'm someone, and as are you, from my experience, is we're both people who want to help anyone who needs help, as long as it looks like you're helping yourself. If you're constantly asking for help and constantly in a bad place, and then we look at, sorry, for me, I don't want to speak for you.
It goes back to what you said.
But when you look at the choices that the person's making and the situations they keep putting themselves in,
if they're not going to do it, someone else can't. And that's exactly what you were just saying.
It doesn't matter how much people are there for them. It's you've got to start trying to make those steps for yourself, and it's tough. It's hard to get out of habits, but it can be done. But I think that's a video that people should watch literally weekly, monthly. For me,
it doesn't hurt to remind yourself about these things, and I think that's one thing that's undervalued slightly.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to sit down and get into this good mindset and start doing these couple things, and then 4 days later you have a bad day, and then just let it go back downhill from there, you need to be beating this into your head. You need to be doing it all the time.
I feel like a lot of that is excuses. I think people, it's taking the easy way out. And yeah, everybody has different levels of it. Mm-hmm. Maybe my struggle obviously isn't as strong as someone else's, but that doesn't mean that I don't have things that I constantly have to force myself either not to do or try as hard as I can to avoid doing certain things. It's, we all go through these things. Yeah, it might be on different levels, but we all have inner struggles, inner demons. It's a strong word. I don't like that, but we all have that kind of stuff. So when you listen to that video, what kinds of things does come to mind for you as far as, I don't like saying tricks, but things you've learned. So things you've learned over the last, say, 10 years that have really helped you as far as, staying on a more positive path.
Well, one of the huge things I think is just being out and active, whether it's kind of at the gym or just being outside in nature and doing something, going for hikes. We'd go kayaking, just go play sports. Mm-hmm. And we had touched on this previously about the kind of energy that we just naturally have that needs to be burned. Otherwise, it's going to be focused in other places.
Yeah.
And I think that's super, super important. And if you don't burn that energy doing something that you find pleasure in, it's going to be weighing you down at nighttime when it's time to sleep and get rest.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to sleep and rest properly.
Yeah.
You're going to wake up just as stressed out as you were the day before.
Yeah.
And it's just going to snowball into something that just puts you in a really bad place over time. You know, that was definitely a huge thing that I've always learned when I do need to get my mind in a better place. And you, for sure, when you're realizing that, that's a huge one for me.
Yeah. I think kind of off the same point, you know, it's not only, you know, you don't have to enjoy it. And that's something I think with the kind of society we're living in right now, everybody expects everything to be easy. Not everyone, but a lot of people just expect things. And again, these are all things, you know, I don't say these things as if I'm not included in them. We all kind of live in this time where it's so easy to expect everything to come your way. It's so easy to just take the easy way out.
Yep.
You don't have to enjoy everything. A hard workout at that moment sucks. When you're real, I mean, you know, there's some that I do that I still enjoy, but there's some like hot yoga, for example. Fuck, that sucks for the last half an hour. It's brutal.
How good does it make you feel after, though?
But when I get in my car or truck after that, you're just, nothing can bother you.
Well, you know
You're
did what
so
you know
calm.
you did what you needed to do.
You feel like you accomplished something.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of like what you just said.
Having an accomplishment is
that
big.
Feeling of, I did it.
Yeah.
All right. Like you, but I guess more where I was going with it was that exertion, that it takes that, like we talked about, I think last week, it takes that, or we talked about it
At the Fox.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about the Fox. Everything just melds together.
Yeah.
When we talked about it, it's that, you know, you're not on that drive home, I'm not gonna yell at someone because they cut in front of me a little too close. Like, really start to know. You start noticing these things, and you know. So for me, another couple things that I've learned. Again, we talked about it earlier. Is cutting the negativity out of your life in whatever ways that is, whether that's people or situations you put yourself in, or whatever it may be. Not sweating the small stuff.
Yep.
Not beating yourself up because your kitchen's messy. Not beating yourself up because your house is messy because you decided to go do something you wanted to do and enjoy. And that's another thing that, you know, can drive the girlfriend crazy with me is I don't care about the kitchen being messy or any of that stuff. It's because I'm busy doing things I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of have to.
I'm a big believer in clear your space, clear your mind too.
Yeah,
you know? So
you know what?
That's one little thing. You know, where we're on a different page with that. But
what works for you?
What works
right?
for me is if I can get up in the morning and
you see that the place is clean,
do a tidy, and then when I come home from work, then I have my time to sit down and do me.
Yeah.
And not spend an hour cleaning up things like that, you know.
See, I have no problem just leaving it.
I've just always over time traced that back to kind of cleaning up as I go and doing things as I go. So there's small tasks that are done and out of the way, opposed to just you know, having a. Well, obviously, could do a big cleanup every once in a while or whatever, but
that's a big thing. Like there's been a lot of studies on stuff like that. Like people, you know, I don't know if you've heard of Tim Ferriss, but he does a podcast and he talks to a lot of people. And the basis of his is he's trying to find out what the common themes are of successful people.
Right.
And one of the common things is morning routines, but more specifically, making your bed.
Yeah.
As soon as you wake up. Because it starts your mind on that right path, and I try to do it now, but I forget. It's one of those habits I'm trying to get better
my whole life.
It gives you that initial feeling of like, okay, I already got one thing.
And
done.
that's definitely something that I like doing in the morning. 100%. Yeah, I like getting that feeling that I'm getting back into my routine, and this is what I'm going to do with my day. There's sometimes I hate waking up and lounging for 2 hours. I can't do it.
No.
I mean, you could ask Jess even some Saturdays, Sundays when, you know, I'm off and she's going
Yeah.
to work, like I'm up the same time, if not before her. And it's, you know, might have been to the gym already, you know, like I need to get up and like get going with my day.
I've got the opposite. Whereas when she has her day off on the weekend, I still want to get up at a decent time and get going and start getting shit done. And I get it. You want to sleep in. You know?
Yeah,
you work hard. That's what you want to do. You feel like getting a sleep in. I've slept in most up until the last couple years. Not even the last year.
Yeah.
I slept in, and now I'm kind of. You know, you start to change. You start to realize I'm going to be happier if I get a bunch of shit done.
Yeah, but again, that's you.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, some people, they...
So what are some of the other things? So, like, you know, for me, things, you know, as far as, you know, things that I feel like, you know, you talked about, I seem like I am content. Well, there's a lot of things. I used to be, you know, I mean, I'm pretty similar to how I've always been, but I've definitely gotten a lot better at not worrying about the small shit. I've gotten a lot better at fixing things that I feel like I need work on. And things I attribute that to are, I did a little bit of meditation, but meditation more so as far as the float tanks, which we've talked about.
Yep.
Float tanks are a great way to get inside your own head, which is, as you know, on the same lines of weed. You know, they're both on the same kind of page to me for the people who don't really like them, is because it forces you to analyze yourself. You know, it forces you to see the faults. It forces you to see the things that you may need to work on. And I think that's a huge part.
Self-reflection and awareness.
Huge
is massive.
part.
It is.
There are so many times.
You know what? Whether you're doing good or bad things, self-reflection. Because when you are having wonderful good times, it's important that you're understanding that you're feeling this great because of what you are doing and the changes you've made.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's, you know, if you have a bad one and you make a mistake, not killing yourself over it is so big. But to reflect and be aware that, hey, this caused this, and this just ruined 2 or 3 days for you. Yeah. You know, you just need to keep beating the drum to stay away from that. Not let those things hurt you, but like the awareness of it is so important. Yeah. Whether it is good or bad, right?
I've had some like breakthroughs, man. Things that, you know, may seem like nothing, but things that completely changed the way I looked at things from those float tanks. And you know, I can't recommend it enough to people.
I still gotta try it. Yeah.
It's, you know, I understand why people are like weary of doing it, but at the same time, it's one of those things where like your health, your happiness, those should be the most important things in your life. And if an hour and 15 minutes and $50 is really too much, well, then it goes back to like, well, then, you know, if you're not going to try and help yourself, you know, then it's not for everybody again. Yeah. But
getting in the reflection.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Yeah. There was just one other thing I wanted us to both kind of talk on because it ties into last week.
Okay.
You know, we talked about working out, all of these things that, you know, make you feel good, accomplishment.
Right.
I personally, and I'm sure you're going to agree, cannot recommend volunteering more than anything that will make you feel so good about yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You're helping other people and you're helping yourself.
Yeah.
You're putting a smile on someone's face, depending, however you want to volunteer, however you want to spend your time. You know, if you're someone who likes nature, go out and get a pick and clean up some garbage. You know, like if I was someone who enjoyed hikes, I might look into something more along those lines. I more like to do sports and active, so I got into Big Brothers where I could do stuff with someone, and then, you know, helping out people less fortunate than us. Those are things that I really have always kind of had a passion towards.
Definitely.
And find what it is for you and put a few volunteer hours in a month, 2, 4, 6 a month. And I'm telling you, the difference it's going to make is astronomical.
There was not, I don't think, one moment we didn't enjoy. You know, the day we were downtown or, you know, any work with the Gateway Hope.
Yep.
That was a great night.
Yeah.
and just sat there and kind of embraced everything that was going on, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It really was.
So so we get into this. So I was listening to Aubrey Marcus podcast, which is another phenomenal podcast, and there's another one called the Optimization Podcast. They're all kind of through the On It Academy, which I would suggest anybody who's kind of really, who enjoys this podcast and enjoys the kinds of stuff we're talking about and our ideas, check out onit.com. There's a lot of stuff there as far as floating, meditation, workout routines, a lot of things to kind of, better yourself. But they were talking about these certain things that these guys do that they feel really not only helps them to stay positive, but also keeps them motivated and keeps them accomplishing, goals and working on themselves. Like we talked about just now, the awareness and the reflection. So what they do is you, at the end of the day or end of the night, right before you go to bed, piece of paper on your iPhone, whatever you have around, write down 3 to 5 things that either made you happy, things you accomplished, positive things from that day. Really,
just finding anything that's positive. I didn't realize we were supposed to do it from the day, so I thought about things that were just kind of going on in life.
No, it's trying to focus on, because like we were talking about, it's so easy to see all the negative stuff every day.
Yep.
It's so easy to focus on all the things that aren't going right, all the things that aren't that aren't positive throughout your experience in that day. But
I'll start doing it for a daily journal now.
That's fine.
I enjoyed it. I even texted you the first day and said I enjoyed doing this.
It's awesome. It's something that I think I'm pretty good at with myself. I'm usually pretty positive, but
pretty small, easy way to write down some good things that happened in your day and something you want to work on tomorrow.
You're going to get a better, what these guys say is you get a better sleep, and because you've kind of cleared your conscience of, wait, no, I did get some stuff done today. No, I did
some self-counseling.
I did enjoy my day in all of these different ways. So you do that, and then if you choose to, you don't have to, you write down 2 or 3 things that you think you could have improved on, things you could have done better, right? Start with a positive, end with some stuff you may want to improve on. So me and Matt decided after we talked about it on Thursday that we'd do a few nights of this and kind of share what we came up with. So
I definitely think I'm going to continue this, though.
Oh, 100%.
I'd like to keep track. Why don't you go ahead and read yours first?
You want me to go ahead?
They were daily ones, and mine are more of a broad.
I use my
broad
iPhone.
life perspective.
So what did I got here? Notes. So I started. So the journal 5 good things to the day. So Thursday, I completed a job at work, got something finished. I felt good about it. It was, I did good work. I was happy with my job. Then me and Matt, we had a productive meeting.
It was a good talk.
We had a good talk.
I enjoyed that night quite a bit,
actually. Good night. And then I made a bunch of food, made a bunch of meals that night. Prepped some stuff for the weekend and for Friday for work and dinner. And then I had another meeting with a buddy of mine regarding having possibly selling my condo and situations. Got the ball rolling on something I've been thinking about for a while, and then had sex with a sexy lady. So, I five pretty solid things for the day.
Yeah.
And then so. FYI, I wrote that before the sex happened. And then she wanted to read my list. It worked.
Pickuplines.com.
It worked. And then for me, on Thursday, the things that I needed to improve on, I didn't really get, after our meeting, I was supposed to do a little bit of research for the podcast, and I didn't really get to it. I decided I wanted to relax for the night. Not bad, but also something that, looking back, I probably should have done a little bit, half an hour of research. And then when I was making my little egg muffins, I didn't use Pam, and they stuck to the muffin tin. So that was my Thursday. But that, you get an idea of it. Friday, I worked out, went bowling, ate healthy, completed a few jobs. And Saturday, I got a lot done on a side job, played hockey with my buddies, and then went over to a friend's house that night for beers. So these are, some of them are just simple things. That you do.
Yeah.
But there are things that we sometimes, I think, overlook so easily because we feel like they're just, no, those are just normal things.
Yeah.
No, but they're things, for me, that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And when you look back, you're like, no, I did a lot of stuff that I actually enjoy doing.
Yeah, and it's important to do that, right? Because if you don't think about it, sometimes that can just coast through your day, and then you forget to remember, hey, I had a pretty good day.
Yeah. So I think did you have any you wanted to share?
Well, like I said, mine were more broad life perspective things.
Yeah, that's okay. What do you got?
Today. So for the Thursday, I just kind of wrote down, I went with 3 things I was grateful or made me happy, and then 2 things to work on. So grateful, 1, my wonderful girlfriend, Jessica.
Yeah.
Podcasting and reaching people, and baseball starting were the 3 things.
Yeah.
And I'm super
Can't argue with that.
Yeah, and to work on, it was sleeping better and spend more time talking to family. And then for Saturday, we got living in BC, my dog Rick, and our trip to Arizona. And the 2 things to work on were useless spending and less sugary beverages.
Yeah.
You
do like your sugary
I
beverages.
do like my... Pretty good, yeah. I like Gatorades. And then the third one, things that make me happy were being creative, having buddies that are always there, and golfing. And then 2 things to work on was finding more time to relax and taking more control over my mind. And that was, something we got into talking about happiness and some of these podcasts we listened to in the last couple of weeks there that I found some stuff I really enjoyed listening to.
If anybody's, I'm not going to list off stuff, but if anybody listening is interested in some really good, positive podcasts or self-reflecting podcasts that'll make you think and see things differently, shoot us a message on Facebook or Instagram, and
be more than happy
to point you in the right directions, or the directions that we go. Maybe some work for you, maybe some don't work for you.
You know what? If you got something that works for you that you want to share with us too,
definitely.
I'd love to hear that.
100%. That's the amount of conversations I have with people about podcasts and what they listen to. It's growing.
Yeah.
Podcasts are just starting to become more mainstream, and I really enjoy finding out about different ones that people listen to. Mm-hmm. My list on my phone just keeps growing and growing. But you were, I was gonna spin off of something you were talking about there, and then I lost it.
Do you want to see my list again?
It was your list. There was something on your list. Taking more control of your own mind.
Yeah.
So that ties into like what we were talking about before, like for me at least, with floating, weed, things like that. Really, really, that analyzing, it gets easier, and even if you're not high or you're not in a float tank, I will catch myself now constantly when I start either freaking out, say driving, or I start letting something get to me. I will catch myself.
I've been doing that
far
too,
more often
especially,
now,
yeah.
and I'll be like, whoa. Why are you worrying about this? What, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Yeah, we were talking about that on Thursday as well. Like the one podcast, The Quiet Mind, I listened to, there was a really good example of this guy and a neighbor and this dog that was barking. And the dog wouldn't shut up. There was nothing he could do. It wouldn't stop until the people got home. And he translated that comparing to thoughts in your brain, that it's a nagging voice, but it's not you. Mm-hmm. It's something telling you that you're not going to be happy unless you do this. You're not going to be satisfied unless you eat this, go here, blah, blah. Well, shut up with those thoughts, and you're sitting and doing whatever you're doing at this present moment, mm-hmm. and just be aware of what you're doing, and it overrides those thoughts. Mm-hmm. And if you don't let those things attack your brain all the time, I'm telling, like you said, you become more aware of getting rid of negative thoughts. And this, for me, was a really good way of getting rid of negative thoughts. Was just all of a sudden now this bell goes off as an awareness, and it's like, what's the point of thinking about that?
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Carry on,
Yeah.
Don't let this stop you from what you're doing right now. So.
And find the things, like I said, we can give all these examples of things that work for us, but obviously things are going to work for different people. Different things are going to work for different people.
In the last 3 or 4 days, there's so many different articles I found that, a lot of them have common things in them. Yeah. But at the same time, sit down and read some of these and reflect on them.
How many times you hear people say, "Oh, that's stupid. That's not going to work." Well, you know what?
Try it.
Start trying these
Try
things.
these things,
And find
yeah.
the ones that work for you in the moments where you might need them.
Yep.
When your mind's racing and you cannot get out of your own head, for some people, the things that we've described today might not work. But there are things out there, I guarantee, that will work. And try them. Find different things. Look online. Fucking Google is amazing. Type in what you're going through and see what comes up and try a few different things. I mean, if it's something that you can't get to stop, what's the harm?
You know what? The worst that can happen from when you're sitting there and looking into something is it gives you something to focus on, opposed to sitting there and letting your mind be attacked.
You
right?
stumble across some porn, and that's
A good cartoon,
that could
maybe.
be what maybe
you know?
works for you for that point. No. So let's. You want to get into new segment, positive news stories of the day?
Yes.
All right. So you want to go first, or
Sure.
All right. So what do you got?
I found this article, which I think is wonderful. It kind of just made me chuckle, but I like the idea behind it. And it's called "The Soup Kitchen is Disguised as a Restaurant, so the Homeless Can Dine with Dignity." And basically, this community kitchen in Kansas City.
Yep.
They have a dolled-up little restaurant. Their volunteers are servers, so it's not, you just kind of walk up to the old typical soup kitchen line. Someone scoops something on your plate.
Yeah.
You get to sit down. They bring you a drink. They take your, they have the little, what they have there.
Yeah.
You say what you want. They bring it. It's just like kind of whining and dining. And it just kind of gives, I think, people, even when we were talking with Brenda at the Gateway of Hope, they could have 180 people come through there. And, obviously if you don't have all the volunteers and whatever, but like this experience for somebody who's homeless to come sit down and feel something, when they probably look back, they're always missing the things about, I don't want to say a normal life, but more typical lives. So to give them an opportunity to be in a place where it's someone's treating them with more respect than they normally are getting, I think it's a pretty cool thing.
I think that, that really kind of, I think that could be a motivation in itself, right? I think for that, those people who are going to be dining there, it could be a motivating factor for them. They could be looking at it like,
this is something you
God,
want
I miss
more.
this.
Yeah.
And, whatever they may be going through, they might, obviously there could be other things that they're going to need help with, but all it takes is a small little step sometimes, small little push.
It's somebody caring about them too,
Yep.
and doing something. And that was the big thing we talked about with homelessness is, being there for them, stuff like that.
Not making them feel like you're not trying your best not to make it feel like it is charity, regardless of what it might be. Like I talked about with John, everybody deserves dignity.
Yeah. Everybody
And
does deserve dignity.
If you can
And a
give
dine
them
with
that
dignity
and give them a
thing,
meal at the same
that's awesome.
time,
That's
a beautiful thing.
It is, yeah.
So I found, I like that. That's a great one. And mine kind of, for me, what I take away from this story is it's small and it may seem minuscule, but every little bit helps. So there's this. It doesn't say where it is, but there's this guy works at like a little food stand right near a college, and there was a woman who works close by, and what was her name? Leah Watt. So it doesn't actually say what her job is, but I guess she works on campus. And she was doing some homework. Oh, okay. So she was a student. She was doing some homework, and she was working for a few hours. And she would constantly hear these students come up to the food court and be talking and conversing with this guy who works there. And he was someone who they could basically go to, talk about anything. He was always in a good mood. He was, whenever, whatever, they were talking about their problems with school, he would always kind of, try and steer the conversation to a positive side of things. And so, she wrote a little note on one of the school website. And from that point on, it was just a barrage of positive comments about this guy and everyone who had interactions with him and how amazing he was. So I know, I just love stories like that where, something that seems so minuscule, something that seems like absolutely nothing, like just talking to someone, can make all the difference in the world.
Definitely.
And that's why for me personally, I try to, it doesn't always happen, but I try to approach everybody that comes up to me to talk with the same level of positivity and the same level of openness. Because you never know what someone might be going through, what they may need that day. And if you can just put a smile on their face, or if you can just show them that you are willing to talk, that you care enough to answer them without just dismissing them, those kinds of things go a long way in a society where we are more and more so getting away from those face-to-face interactions.
Yeah, there's a huge lack for sure.
But
that's cool.
I thought it was
a good story.
No, I really, really, these are the kind of stories that for me, actually, at least, it helps you to see, what the little action can do, and it also, for people who think, maybe no one cares or no one notices you or you're not helping anybody, it really shows that people are paying attention. Just because you're not getting awards, it doesn't mean that people aren't being affected by how you're treating them. And that's I think the big thing I would take away from this is that you may not be getting an award for being a nice person, you may not be getting credit for any of that stuff, but you shouldn't want it. You should just want to treat people and go through life in a positive way, because that's the impression you're going to leave on people, and that's how they're going to remember you.
I agree.
I think that's a good note to end on. Yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Check out some of these sites we're checking out. The one that really got to me gave us really good list of different things to think about, and it was a WikiHow page. I think if you Googled 3 methods to happiness, you'd find it, and it's about a 10-minute read, but there's lots of really, really important things that I think are good to scan over.
Follow Good News Network. Follow pages that
follow Happy Naughts.
Follow Happy Naughts on Facebook, at Happy Naughts for Twitter and Instagram. But surround yourself with positivity. I think that's a huge part of this social media world we're living in, is that we can, even like in the Joe Rogan clip, you choose what you're gonna have input.
If you feel yourself having that day, find a way to change it.
Go to a positive. Find something happy.
It'll the other week I was having a bad day at work.
Play a fucking upbeat song.
I threw on a meditation podcast and it changed my whole day.
Find what works for you. Right. Okay. This is Happy Naughts saying, "Don't worry, be happy," and we will see everybody next week.
Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry, be happy.